New York City, America's style capital. A city where true originals, eccentrics, and groundbreakers make the air buzz. A city of big buildings, big money, and bold attitude. Where the avant-garde meets pure glamour, and the elegance of uptown converges with the eccentricity of downtown to create a paradise for high fashion and street style. New York is a city where food, art, and design thrive. Where classic New York style fuses with the ultra-modern, and where neighborhoods are reinvented in the blink of an eye. It's about big talent and bigger dreams. This is Ultra Eye New York.
New York.
New York is anchored on the world map as an epicenter of fashion, food, music, theater, and art, making this island city one of the style wonders of the world. It is a city built on innovation and imagination with something for every taste. New York has erected world-class cultural centers to house every obsession. It's got the Museum of Modern Art, the Performing Arts Mecca of Lincoln Center, the stately Frick Collection housed in a 19th century mansion, and it's even got a museum of sex. On Fifth Avenue, art addicts can get the ultimate fix at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, arguably one of the most important cultural institutions in the world. Here, thousands of years of masterpieces, from the treasures of ancient Egypt to classical sculpture to European painting, all exist under one roof. This New York institution is also the only place that has a wing dedicated solely to the art of fashion. The Costume Institute at the Met has an archive of over 80,000 costumes and accessories from around the world, from the 17th century to the present day.
The Costume Institute offers a forum to show the best of design and tries to analyse aspects of fashion and disseminate that knowledge to a broader general public, and put on exhibitions that really expand the boundaries of the museum more than any other department.
It's unique in the world, the Costume Institute. You know, it's one of the only parts of a museum dedicated to real fashion.
The museum, I think, sort of really has, for years now, shined the spotlight on fashion, made people realize that fashion is an art form.
What are you wearing?
An art form that reaches new heights each year as the Costume Institute hosts its annual gala, a party almost as famous as the museum itself. This annual celeb-filled gathering is the hottest ticket in town. On this star-studded red carpet, high society and high fashion meet Hollywood glamour and rock and roll chic to celebrate New York style at its best.
New Yorkers really love fashion because, you know what? Every day in New York on the street, it's a fashion show. I know girls in New York who have no furniture, but they have fabulous shoes.
It's a great display of fashion. It's a space where people often dress to the theme of the exhibition.
One such theme is Anglomania, an exhibition that takes place in the English period rooms of the museum. Here, the Institute combines the best of British fashion, past and present. This exhibit juxtaposes the Institute's own 18th and 19th century collections with unique pieces by contemporary iconic British designers like John Galliano, Alexander McQueen, and Vivienne Westwood.
They have an amazing archive of costume, which I have found inspiration from. I've been allowed to go in there and reference.
Many of the designers in the exhibition have a lot of historical references, and we juxtapose them with historical garments to show where those references are coming from. We have a dress that was produced by Vivienne Westwood that was based on a dress worn by Elizabeth I in a painting. That particular necklace was based on Elizabethan jewellery, so it has a basis in history.
And with Anglomania, the Met looks at history with an open mind. Punk rock may not seem museum-worthy, but the British-led fashion, musical, and artistic movement was hugely relevant, especially in New York City. And the Costume Institute celebrates it with a room solely dedicated to the creativity from this period.
We pitched dandies and gentlemen against punks, with punks really falling over chairs, standing on tables, as dandies and gentlemen look on in horror.
They've explained our part in history really quite accurately, that it is all about fun and challenge and danger.
I can't imagine what anyone could do that would be as shocking as punk was in its day, and fashion has really never been the same since.
With its groundbreaking exhibitions, the Costume Institute gives a traditional New York institution an edge, and it epitomizes the love of fashion and style of the city it calls home.
I think that merging of art, music and fashion comes together in New York more than any other city in the world.
While the Met reigns over art history, the hub of the booming contemporary art scene makes its home in a funkier place. Culture hunters looking to uncover the next Jeff Koons or Julian Schnabel no longer shop Soho, but instead look to indie galleries in the offbeat neighborhood of Chelsea. Within only 10 city blocks of this Way West neighborhood, power dealers like Larry Gagosian, Lorraine Augustine, and Mary Boone show the most cutting-edge art in unusual, loft-like spaces.
The choice to come to Chelsea, like so many other choices in New York, was about real estate. Soho was no longer where you could afford a big space because the retailers had driven out all the galleries. So this is where we are.
Here in Chelsea, there were these wonderful garage spaces where you wouldn't have to go up steps with large sculptures. All you needed to do was open the garage door and bring the artwork in.
We're standing in what was formerly a taxi garage. Our old floor used to even have little bits of yellow paint on the floor. To have a very simple, clean, white space is what most galleries need. You need that flexibility.
You want to create the environment for the artists to create what they want to create. You want to give them freedom to make the shows they want to make. And a lot of contemporary art is very large in scale. It requires a certain amount of space.
You can sell T-shirts or sweaters or jeans in an 850 square foot store. You can't sell art in spaces that small because we can't look at it.
Thinking about the show, you want to have the work kind of feel right in here. In my studio, you can't see this stuff because it's just the room's just packed with junk and books and more art. And so putting it in a white room like this, it's like everything comes to life.
It's interesting to think about why so many galleries would come to one location. Why would you move across the street from what you could possibly think of as your competition? But in the art world, it seems to be a good thing that you have other galleries on your street. Collectors come to the neighborhood, and then they're able to go from gallery to gallery.
We're not on any subway lines. We're all the way over by the river. We're not near a lot of other activities. So it's a kind of conscious ghettoization or segregation so that the people who do come to the gallery are mainly on a pilgrimage to see art.
New York is, still the center of the art world. And that's another thing about Chelsea. We have an incredible audience here.
I think the whole energy of West Chelsea really introduced art and the idea of collecting art to a whole other generation of people who probably would have just spent it all on shoes.
We're known around the world, and whomever comes in from any country comes to Chelsea.
From artsy Chelsea to colorful Little Italy to the ritzy Upper East Side, in New York, it's all about neighborhoods. You are where you live. Each New York neighborhood has its own distinct flavor. These flavors are the inspiration behind an imaginative boutique that celebrates this city's style. Laurice Ramey combined her passion for New York City with her love for perfume and built a brand of couture fragrances that pay tribute to the neighborhoods that give this city its spirit.
The idea of a place, that we are bottling a place, that's what we're doing with the neighborhood, is to really relate very closely to the culture of the people of that neighborhood. The place like a Chinatown, for instance, it's just a kind of neighborhood where you relate to food. So we wanted to do a fragrance that has a lot of gourmand notes. We wanted it edible. Whereas if you go to Park Avenue, you don't think of gourmand. Park Avenue, we wanted to be just perfect, very discreet and always elegant and just always very pretty. We did a Harlem fragrance. We did Little Italy. So we also did Wall Street. And we bottle them, and they'll be immortalized that way.
Even with the 25 neighborhoods Ramey offered, independent-minded New Yorkers were still not satisfied.
As New Yorkers would come to this store, they would ask for the neighborhood. They would say, well, I live there. Do you have anything for me? So I captured the feeling that they wanted to be so individualized that we offered custom blend for your address.
Bond 9 not only represents New York's unique landscape, but also celebrates the elegant art of perfumery.
We wanted to bring artistry back in this industry. We had lost it so much.
LeMay's city scents come in custom-designed bottles made of Italian glass. These add to the store's overall aesthetic, which is as much a part of the Bond 9 experience as the perfumes themselves.
It's a big visual impact when you come here. So first is visual, first you look, then you smell. We offer you 45 different teas for you to, sit and enjoy. We have a library here, and you can read or buy books. I think it's one of the few stores in New York who are satisfying all of our senses.
Coming up on Ultra Eye, meet the woman whose cutting-edge style puts Sex and the City on the map. And visit a once seedy neighborhood that's now the epitome of cool. New York is a city of high style and design, where the old and the new meet. Nowhere is this more evident than the Meatpacking District, a downtown neighborhood that was once a haven for butchers and trannies. But over the last 10 years, New Yorkers in search of the next big thing have flocked to this industrial area. In pure New York style, unremarkable commercial spaces were transformed into fashion, food, and nightlife hotspots. In 1999, Jeffrey Kolinsky took over an abandoned Nabisco factory and transformed it into the neighborhood's first style center, simply called Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Kolinsky was one of the first to arrive in the Meatpacking District, and he was largely responsible for getting all of these high-end shops to call 14th Street home.
Jeffrey basically yanked it all back downtown again and said, here's the Sex and the City crowd. Here's the crowd that's going to spend $450 on a pair of shoes that they can't walk more than 5 paces from a taxi cab.
Suddenly, chic shoppers more accustomed to Madison Avenue and the Upper East Side were heading downtown for their Prada, Manolos, and Gucci. It's now a shopper's mecca, and not surprisingly, fashion's biggest name soon followed Kolinsky's lead.
Now it's about Scoop and Stella McCartney and Alexander McQueen and 7 restaurants to wear everything that you bought in those places.
In fact, this fashionable hood is as well known for its trendy eateries as it is for its chic shops.
The irony is that it wasn't just young chefs that said, oh, let me get into this neighborhood while it's up and coming. It was some of the city's 4-star chefs like Jean-Georges who decided, wait a minute, I want to be part of this too. And now you've got restaurants like Spice Market.
At Spice Market, 4-star chef Jean-Georges von Gerichten has created a haven for the style set. Nothing was too extravagant for this venue. Jean-Georges pulled out all the stops fair against an unusual backdrop. Von Gerichten transformed a former warehouse, where you can still see the original beams of Herman's Moving and Storage, by using the ruins of an Indian palace to create an oasis that keeps hip New Yorkers coming back for more. Down the block, restaurateur Keith McNally has created what is now an institution, Pastis. It looks as authentic as any bistro in Paris and is the place to see and be seen. But the meatpacking district's lure doesn't end with your dinner bill. In this neighborhood, you can dance and spend till dawn.
It's nightlife personified. It's just everything that you can imagine New York nightlife to be in one general area.
On these cobblestone streets, there's a club for every taste. From celeb haunt Cielo to the trendy PM lounge, it's a partier's playground. At 77, a late-night crowd sips custom cocktails on chocolate crocodile banquettes.
Most of the great clubs have been other things before, and I know 77's was a cooler, and they literally transformed it into a club.
This elegant lounge with intimate gold lighting is one of the meatpacking district's chicest hangs.
This neighborhood that was kind of thought to be smelly and seedy suddenly became the epicenter for really expensive housing, and really fancy hotels have all come into the same neighborhood that was once considered probably the grossest part of the city. So now when you say, I'm going to the meatpacking district, it could mean that you're having a $500 meal and staying at like a $1,000 a night hotel room.
One of the area's most stylish hotels is a tower of glass and steel that is the centerpiece of the neighborhood. The sleek and modern Gansevoort Hotel was built on what was formerly a parking lot. This unique structure epitomizes meatpacking district chic, attracting tourists and locals alike.
We understood when we started this project that what we were doing is creating the town square of the meatpacking district, the place that capitalized on the life and the energy that was here.
And in order to capitalize on its energy, this hotel had to personify trend-setting style.
This building is based on a very, very simple approach to creating an environment, both in the architecture and interior design, that's monochromatic and a little bit minimalistic.
Style at the Gansevoort marries modern design with cutting-edge lighting. The hotel lobby features stark primary colors that are highlighted by a Matisse-inspired rug and complex theatrical lighting. Colors that create a mood of cool from both the inside and out.
The lighting in this hotel has been designed as part of an architectural and interior design concept. The color sense of the building was monochromatic background with color being used as light and glass. We created these glass columns that are columns of light. We are creating an environment that's somewhat theatrical. When you go to a hotel, it should give you a completely different experience.
At the Gansevoort, the experience starts in the rooms themselves. Sleek and simple design elements dominate with a focus on comfort. The modern bathrooms are large with A+ amenities. For guests who can handle the hefty $750 a night price tag, the Gansevoort suites feature cozy sitting areas that continue the hotel's monochromatic design. An unusual twist to the suites are the small balconies in each room that give guests a view of the city below.
Balconies are not usually done in urban hotels, but balconies are terrific. As an architect, it just gives me another element of texture to add to the building.
In a city as competitive as New York, a hotel needs to keep the perks interesting and, above all, stylish. Options at the Gansevoort extend to the Pan-Asian Fair at Restaurant Ono, where high design meets sleek details. When it's time to unwind, guests and locals alike can head to the G-Spa, an elegant escape. Here, massages, warm baths, and cocktails are all a part of the experience. But the hotel's most famous and coveted amenity is a hidden oasis perched high above the meatpacking district's busy streets.
Rooftops, I have always believed, were the most underutilized real estate in the city.
On the Gansevoort's rooftop pool, guests can lounge on vibrant colored chaises, where the monochromatic theme is brightened with reds and oranges. They're complemented by the blue water and the blue sky. This part of the Gansevoort lifestyle makes anyone forget that they are on the crowded island of Manhattan.
But what has made this so wonderful, and why this becomes a magnet for local people, is that you're caged in New York. You know, you're stuck in your little apartment. Here, we've given you public access to the sky.
Coming up on Ultra Eye, meet the woman whose cutting-edge style puts Sex and the City on the map. Capitalizing on space and thinking out of the box is the way New Yorkers survive living on an island that's only 13 miles long and 2 miles wide. So, when the innovators behind the tongue-in-cheek fashion boutique Caravan found New York rents out of their reach, they decided to take their style on the go.
The idea of Caravan came to us because of Fresh Direct. When we liked the idea of food coming to your door, why not fashion come to your door?
Gumbel revamped a regular RV into a 240-square-foot mobile shopping emporium that travels the city's neighborhoods, boasting a selection that runs the fashion gamut.
There's such a vast amount of style in New York, so our offerings really need to be broad. We carry everything from well-known labels like Heatherette to Bob Marley's daughter's collection called Catch a Fire to Rhythm Driven, which is a new emerging designer.
Caravan's style is about catering to New York fashionistas who demand originality but have no time to spare. No basic black tees in this RV. Caravan knows that New York style is always about innovation.
The bags that Caravan carries, they're made out of candy wrappers. Everything is handmade in Mexico. Well, it's a great thing to be carried by Caravan because it's publicity on wheels. They can park anywhere in the city, they have great customers, and everybody can see my bags.
I think New Yorkers always want something different. A lot of people always say to us, only in New York.
Fashion in New York comes in every shape and color and can satisfy anyone's individual taste. From Manolos at Jeffrey to punk threads on 8th Street, this city has it all. When it comes to finding New York's fashion in its edgiest form, savvy scenesters follow the trend-setting styles of Patricia Field. Her out-there designs and fierce integrity have defined New York rule-breaking fashion for over 40 years. She's taken her ultra-hip shop House of Field from 8th Street to Soho and now to the Bowery, a developing area known for its kitchen supply shops and as the birthplace of punk.
If anyone has any brains in this town, they will follow Pat wherever she goes. When it was punk, she's there. You know, when it's flamboyant and trainee drag, she's there. When it's going to an emerging neighborhood, she's there.
Pat moved the House of Field to the Bowery into an old kitchen supply store, but in true Pat Field fashion, kept the original sign and added her famous signature to create a facade that is completely unique.
And I thought, you know, when this whole neighborhood gets really slick, you know, my store with the hand-painted sign over there, it's gonna really stand out.
Pat's approach to retail is about both reinvention and tradition, while always keeping her prices reasonable. House of Field may be the only place in New York where a drag queen and a toddler will walk out satisfied.
I represent young, fun, buy it, wear it, throw it away, give it to your friends, put it in the closet, pull it out 10 years from now. It's about cartoon, exaggeration, theater. The theatrical pieces are part of the bones of the image of the store. You know, it's fun, it's got a sense of humor. I think that's great, you know, a little suede halter with a tutu. I mean, it's enjoyable. If you have to take a mortgage out, it's not enjoyable anymore.
She looks at what people in the city are wearing, and she picks up on all of these trends and mixes it up in this really quintessential New York way.
Pat's New York sensibility took center stage with her work as the visionary stylist behind the wardrobes of the trendy ladies of Sex and the City.
Sex and the City was fantastic. It opened up so many doors. People tell me, they say women dress differently. Sex and the City made women think differently about the way they dress, and they feel more free, and, well, that makes me very happy. You know, I want to free the slaves.
Pat brought her unique style into millions of homes. From flowers on the lapel to name necklaces, she helped shape the way women around the world dress. And with Sarah Jessica Parker as her muse, Pat's visions came to life.
Sarah Jessica Parker always had an interest in style, which is great because when someone comes to you with their ideas, you have something to work with. And that's how Sarah Jessica became a style icon, because it comes from the inside. It's not because it's a Manolo shoe, per se. It's the skip and the pop when she runs and her feet don't touch the ground. That's in the person, it's not the shoe. These I took from Sex and the City. They were in the coffee shop / restaurant set. So we just sort of arranged them just in a way to make little divisions for the dressing room. So that was my Sex and the City memento.
From Sex and the City to The Devil Wears Prada, Pat's fashions represent a one-of-a-kind New York aesthetic that make House of Field a city institution and Pat a style icon.
I don't like to limit style to fashion only, what you wear. Style is your whole demeanor, your comportment. Originality comes from the heart. So I think probably that's what kept us here and alive and well. So far, knock wood, but you never know.
Next on Ultra Eye, see why the newest addition to New York's skyline might not look it, but is actually green. And tour a Tribeca Empire with one of the city's most famous restaurateurs. New York City may be better known for its big buildings and frenetic pace, but it's also home to some of the country's most innovative and beautiful parks. A sweeping revitalization of its 28,000 acres of parkland has created havens throughout the urban landscape. Miles of green that make this concrete jungle livable. The jewel in the crown is Central Park, Frederick Law Olmsted's visionary oasis where the city can stop to breathe.
When you get in the middle of Central Park, you can actually forget where you are. You forget that you're in an urban environment.
Parks are our backyards. They're our backyards, they're our jogging course, they're our playground for our kids, they're our back porch.
What makes all of the different New York City parks so special is that they have so many uses. They're not just parks. They're movie theaters, they're concert halls.
Each summer, city parks get transformed into the hottest outdoor cultural venues around. Central Park hosts open-air concerts on the Great Lawn. At the Delacorte, the Public Theater stages free Shakespeare in the park.
Bryant Park, twice a year, becomes the fashion capital of the world, and it is exciting. I mean, really, really exciting. There's so many people and beauty and action and celebrities.
For 1 week, massive white tents are erected to unveil the latest in high fashion designs. It's 1 part fashion and 2 parts theatrical production. And then, in the blink of an eye, the park returns to normal. At Madison Square Park in the Flatiron District, a simple parkside lunch becomes quite the scene.
Madison Square Park on 23rd Street has literally turned into a 4-star restaurant. Danny Meyer, who owns Union Square Cafe and Gramercy Tavern, has transformed that neighborhood completely by opening Shake Shack.
When you look at Danny Meyer's Shake Shack at Madison Square Park, and any given time of the day, there are 50 to 60 people waiting online for a hamburger and a milkshake. Now, come on, it's a hamburger, for Christ's sake.
So our parks are truly a place where you get to, for a minute, forget that you're in a city.
You need these parks for survival. You need the green. As long as we keep building parks, as long as we reclaim some civility for ourselves, then we'll always be a great city.
Nothing personifies this great city more than its famous skyline, a symbol of New York's eternal spirit. Its gravity-defying monuments reach to the clouds. From the classic Art Deco Chrysler Building to the majestic Empire State, these bold and stylish structures have become indelible New York landmarks. While the city's skyline has showed its scars, a mark of the tragedy of 9/11, New York's resilient energy prevails, and creative transformations take place every day. One of the newest landmarks to the city's ever-changing landscape is the Hearst Tower, a $500 million project that brings the second-ever green building to the New York skyline. Designed by the legendary architect Sir Norman Foster, the Hearst Tower is environmentally conscious from the inside out. It's home to the publishing empire founded by William Randolph Hearst at the turn of the century. It sits on top of the original 1928 Hearst headquarters and marries the old and the new in true New York style.
It was our mission that if we were going to build something, we were going to build something extraordinary, something that was a lasting legacy to the New York City skyline. It's architecture of its time.
It's actually about reinventing a landmark. Creating something for this century and even the next century is fundamental. We're building for tomorrow.
The tower itself stands out on the skyline because of its unusual look. A triangular glass and steel mosaic that rises out of the stone structure. The architects gutted the original building and erected the tower from inside, creating a new urban square where the outside and the inside fused. They used an innovative combination of physics and design to achieve their goals.
We were after a very light touch for the structure that would emanate from within. So one way to take out the ability of the building to sway and move was to create a triangular structure, which meant less steel, lighter weight steel structure, and a stronger structure as well.
And it's the building's use of recycled steel and abundant glass that makes the construction sustainable and classifies it as green architecture.
The building is all about transparency, with floor-to-ceiling glass everywhere that you can see. Light pours in from the outside, and that allows for more natural light. Therefore, we use less electricity.
Green elements extend to the recycled materials in the fabrics of the rugs, to the wood in the desks, to recycling the water and the air that people breathe.
We recycle the rainwater. We have this, what we call the ice fall, which is this cascade of water which actually provides cooling to the space. Water is a much more efficient medium than air to cool a building. We can cool down the floor, the stonework, just like when you walk into a church.
The building itself is great architecture, but it's also about function and form following function. Here in this new space, it's all about how can you organize things so that they're at your fingertips and work functionally for you.
And the Hearst Tower boasts a bevy of futuristic twists that are both fun and functional. A complex digital elevator system allows riders to go straight to their floor, bypassing all the others. And a cutting-edge gym features the newest fitness equipment. But the Hearst building is less about the bells and whistles than about taking New York into the 21st century and adding another iconic edifice to its dynamic skyline.
New York is forever reinventing itself, which is always about this fantastic eclectic mix of buildings, from the Seagram to Lever House to this building. And this is part of that life, that continuum of this wonderful city that we're standing in today.
New York's capacity for constant transformation, a blending of new and old forms of architecture, is unparalleled. No one understands this more than famed restaurant entrepreneur Drew Neaporent. This New York native fell in love with the classic architecture of an abandoned area south of Canal Street and opened his first restaurant, Montrachet, on Hudson Street. This bold move began the revitalization of Tribeca, turning it into one of New York's chicest neighborhoods. Since then, Neaporent has added Tribeca Grill, Nobu, and Centrico to his restaurant empire and continues to rule Tribeca and its culinary landscape.
In this neighborhood, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 venues. I'm the mayor of Franklin Street. We've been in this location with Nobu now 12 years, since 1994, and the building is a spectacular example of the Tribeca architecture. It's just a really beautiful, detailed building. I mean, just really special. I love it. I think the pigeons like it too.
Drew's reign over Tribeca is tied to his longtime collaboration with friend and fellow restaurateur, Robert De Niro.
When Robert De Niro showed me this space, this used to be a coffee house, I just loved the integrity of the architecture and the fact that it was sort of uncharted territory. And just the whole industrial nature of the space, I knew we'd be able to convert it into something very successful. I always wanted to do more than one restaurant. And I always wanted to do them separate and different, you know, where they don't look the same, the food doesn't taste the same. You have to distinguish yourself in a city with so many places and so much competition. The thing in New York is that now there's just so much of everything that there's no opportunity to just sit back and rest on your laurels. And you have to constantly stay on the cutting edge in order to stay relevant.
Thanks for coming for lunch.
Thank you. I think in New York, a restaurant becomes an institution when people can really rely on the consistency of its product and its service. People also kind of want to come once in a while and see somebody famous. One of our partners in the restaurant is Harvey and Bob Weinstein. They've held court in the restaurant with just about everyone from Paul McCartney to Sting to Mick Jagger. I mean, you name it, Tom Cruise.
And while attracting celebs is a key part of Drew's formula for success, he knows all too well that the devil is in the details.
What I see are the infinite details, and I am the first line of defense between what we do as a business and what the customer enjoys.
Hello, guys. What's the special today?
This is the brisket sandwich.
Oh, that's our brisket sandwich. Looks nice.
Perhaps the most important thing is the collaboration of the restaurateur and the chef so that the food that comes out, the size of the portions, just the simple idea of how the food's plated, how the food gets from the kitchen to the table hot, or if it's supposed to be cold, cold.
And today we'll do about 400 or 500 meals. Slow day.
The beauty here in New York is you have everything. And I believe my generation of restaurateur really concentrated on upgrading the quality. I just don't see New York ever stopping as being a food mecca.
As a celebrated food capital, it's no surprise that New York gives birth to some of the most trend-setting culinary crazes. And the latest can fit in your hand and is only a few bucks. Cupcakes have taken Gotham by storm.
New Yorkers love cupcakes because they're nostalgic. They remind them of their childhoods.
Cupcakes, pretty perfect for New York, and people who are on the go. You know, they can come in, get it, go, and be done with it by the time they get to where they're going.
It's quick and easy cake. Basically, it's like you can almost get away with eating a cupcake without looking like a pig.
And these individualized treats went from a kid's favorite to a grown-up's must-have after the stylish ladies of Sex and the City put Magnolia Bakery on the map.
A lot of it started from Magnolia Bakery. The place looks sort of like a 1950s kitchen. When you go in there, you can actually see the people making it. You can see a line forming all the way around the block. They're lining up for cupcakes.
Magnolia helped launch an all-out battle of the baked goods. Today, that competition has reached new heights, with a cupcake's flair becoming as important as its flavor. Whether it's the artful flowers at Cupcake Cafe or the colorful collage of M&Ms at Crumbs, in this city, a cupcake is not just about taste.
We all have our area of expertise. There's room, certainly in New York City, for everybody. I don't think any two cupcake places here in New York City are doing the same thing. New Yorkers, you know, they demand a really quality product, and that just makes us better.
Coming up on Ultra Eye, discover what dining in four-star style really means. Plus, see why New York is the city that never sleeps. The restaurant scene in New York rivals that of any city in the world.
It's the most important social element in New York City is going out to eat.
Legendary restaurants abound, and new eateries pop up every day. There are flavors for every palate.
They're going out to make a deal. They're going out to meet somebody. They're going to break up with somebody, to get laid, to show their parents a good time, their in-laws a good time. So because of that, you need so many restaurants to satisfy all of these reasons. And New York is happy enough to provide all of those possibilities.
But with 18,000 restaurants in the running, only 5 have reached the ultimate status, a 4-star rating from the prestigious New York Times. 4 stars in New York means culinary perfection. Restaurant Danielle is one of those 5. Danielle is the epitome of elegant dining, and a night at this food lover's paradise is a one-of-a-kind New York experience.
A 4-star rating means excellence in finding ingredients. It's excellence in preparing those ingredients. It's excellence in service, the decor, the ambiance, the wine, of course, and customers come back because of consistency in a restaurant, because they never feel disappointed, even if it's different all the time.
Though Chef Danielle is a native of Lyon, France, the 25 years he spent in New York have honed his craft both as a master chef and as a savvy restaurateur. His many New York eateries cater to the city's diverse mix of palates.
Each best restaurant in the world try to really reflect where they are and who they represent and who they are catering for. One thing for sure is that in New York City, you have a very sophisticated clientele, and I think it makes us really always staying on the edge of creativity, on the edge of seasonality as well. New York is a city who has 4 seasons, so it's wonderful to be able to follow those seasons. This is a very seasonal dish. This is what we call a couronne of crayfish. It's a crown of crayfish with a morel, pea, and also fiddlehead ferns, which is all the spring, late spring ingredient.
All the ingredients that make up the potpourri of flavors in a Danielle kitchen create a cuisine that is eclectic in its preparation, but French to its very core.
If I borrow any inspiration from other cuisine, I try to refine it to what I feel fit the criteria of a French restaurant. We will make a ceviche of Thai snapper with a very Asian undertone to it. Ordering 1 shrimp, 1 ceviche, 1 pea soup, 1 crayfish. For me, it's to also try to show the different facets of my creativity. This is a rack of lamb with a citrus crust and on a bed of fava and sweet scallion. This is sauteed foie gras with plum. This is the braised short ribs with a braised lettuce, little sweet potatoes with a roasted sirloin. I try to have an authenticity in my cooking where it's not sometimes all about the technique, but it's about the taste.
A 4-star rating in the restaurant world is about maintaining quality on all fronts. And for Danielle, decor was a key element to the overall dining experience.
I think I want to make sure that my restaurant feels very inviting, very sophisticated, but very approachable. And we felt that based on the room and the style of the restaurant, we could do something more Venetian Byzantine.
Danielle took what were isolated corners of the room and transformed them into elegant tented enclaves. Now, the restaurant's most coveted tables.
They're the most intimate corner now. Maybe they could be lovers, they could be businessmen, they could be movie stars. That's basically the tent.
Danielle is no stranger to VIPs, and there's no doubt that this decadent feast is one of New York's best, but it's also one of the city's priciest. Dinner for two can cost anywhere from $200 to $1,000.
They take Danielle sometime for their corner bistro. They take Danielle for their favorite place to hang out. And it's not a cheap way to hang out, but at least it's a way where they feel very secure, very at home. And I think having a 4-star restaurant in New York City is when you can really cater to the local clientele and to a clientele who patronize your restaurant constantly. I think you really won in New York.
New York's restaurant scene may be celebrated the world over, but it's the non-stop nightlife that gives this city its spice.
In New York, you can be a 24-hour person. It's the city that never sleeps. And every neighborhood of New York is a great place to go.
From theater to clubs to cocktail lounges, chilling out in this city is just about what suits your mood. For some New York hipsters, low-key and unusual is the ultimate definition of cool. Many of the city's trendiest hotspots are off the beaten path and are housed in former speakeasies, small hidden spaces that are part of the city's rich history. When Prohibition hit America in the 1920s, underground bars known as speakeasies materialized throughout the city. At its height, there were over 100,000 underground bars in New York, many with mob ties. Prohibition has long since been overturned, but New Yorkers are keeping the allure alive. Throughout the city, the hippest bars are often unmarked. Some are actually old speakeasies transformed, while others are simply inspired by the New York style of old. At these modern speakeasies, cocktail culture is thriving.
The back room here was an actual authentic speakeasy from the 1920s. So Bugsy Siegel and Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky all hung out here. All the speakeasies back in the 20s had a fake front. The exact alleyway where people would come in to this speakeasy 80 years ago and drink illegally is still there, and that's the entrance of the back room today.
And 1920s-inspired Employees Only also recreated the speakeasy mystique.
We hid ourselves behind this vestibule where we put a psychic reader inside. So you actually have to go through the psychic reader's booth to enter the restaurant. This used to be the way people used to hide themselves back in the day.
Both backroom and employees only evoke the spirit of 1920s New York, celebrating the era's mysterious, forbidden appeal. Beware of swinging bookcases.
We tried to be as historically correct as possible. The chandeliers are a set of 3 chandeliers from the 1920s. The bartenders use a candlestick telephone. You have everybody drinking out of coffee cups and teacups, and that was something that happened during Prohibition as the cops would come in and bust the speakeasies. Everybody was drinking tea and coffee out of tea and coffee cups. We serve a bottled beer in a bag. That's another way to hide what you're doing.
From Pravda, restaurateur Keith McNally's vodka bar, to Flute, one of Midtown's most famous underground watering holes. New York history thrives in this cocktail scene, where you're always a VIP, if you can find it.
Our velvet rope is, if you find the place, that is our velvet rope. Part of the charm here is getting lost out front and not finding the space. You have to walk down a set of stairs, through a tunnel, through a courtyard, and through a back door.
People love the sense of discovery. There's a great romance and mystery and darkness with going, to that sort of forbidden spot.
But New Yorkers looking to be more in the spotlight head for the velvet ropes and VIP lists of the city's hottest nightclubs. The queen of the velvet ropes is club owner Amy Sacco. Her many clubs and restaurants cater to the city's A-list, and her super elite Bungalow 8 is New York's #1 night spot.
Bungalow 8 is probably the club, the ultra VIP spot.
Bungalow 8 was based on the Beverly Hills Hotel Bungalow 8, and basically the bungalow lifestyle. So it's more actually a lifestyle movement than it is even a bar concept. I think everybody has a door policy. Ours is very strict. I find that, the fewer people, more quality people, and it gives a more rich atmosphere in terms of character and entertainment and people watching.
And if you can get into Bungalow 8, you'll be spending the big bucks for the VIP treatment. So it's no surprise that this place is a playground for the rich and famous.
I think that the celebrity factor always plays into everything. Whatever you want to sell, celebrity sells it best. So obviously it's great for us if we have celebrities. You definitely want to have some moguls, some models, some movie stars. You want Martha Stewart in one corner, and you want, obviously Donald Trump in the other corner.
If you look at anyone who has any kind of longevity in this business, like Amy Sacco, they know who their core audience is. It's not a matter of just letting somebody in past the velvet rope. It's about making those people feel that they belong there.
I think that longevity really is based on really quality control and just really being present and really knowing your product and believing in it.
New York City. Its electric energy and irrepressible spirit make it truly unique.
In New York City, unlike anywhere else in the world, no matter what time it is, day and night, morning, anything can happen. Anything at all.
It's a city defined by reinvention, eccentricity, and sheer guts.
People are always trying different things here, and it's one of the great things about it is that anything and everything goes.
It's a city that's constantly moving forward. Whether it's fashion, food, art, or architecture, trends of all kinds are born here and followed the world over.
People are just really intense about their style in New York. They just go with whatever they want with gusto.
New York is like nowhere else. It makes its mark with its innovative style, its cutting-edge creativity, and its outright heart. It is undeniably America's style capital.